What's up, guys, and welcome to the Week 16 edition of the MonsterPod here on Lineups. Matt Brown and Noops Christensen coming to you. Only a few weeks left in the regular season. Cannot believe this football season is almost done with here. We have a banger of a game on Thursday night between my two top power-rated teams that goes down into overtime. A two-point conversion wins it for the Seattle Seahawks. Just absolutely fantastic. Hopefully a sign of things to come for this week. But Noops, I'm going to admit there's a lot of games, and usually there's like a game that I want to put on a rocket and fire into the sun. I actually have a handful of games that I want to put on a rocket and fire into the sun this week. I'll watch them. I'll pay attention to them. There might be stuff for us to learn from them. I don't know if some of these are the best betting games in the world, but we'll do our best.
It's great that we got a classic on Thursday, a game that not only we got to see probably the two best teams in the league, but now opens the door wide open for shenanigans for the one seed in the NFC. The 49ers suddenly have a chance to win that division. Everything's in play because, as you said, we have several games between two teams that are eliminated from playoff contention, whose quarterbacks are beat up. It's just going to be a sad state of affairs. And hopefully if it's one of your local teams, we can find an edge for you to bet. So at least you have some reason to watch, but it's definitely going to be a good weekend in certain cities to pretend like you're giving up football to spend time with your significant others.
Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Commanders get us going this week on Saturday. So 2 Saturday games this week. Just remember that whenever you are, trying to do stuff with friends and family, you might have to be in front of a television for a few hours. And the Eagles are going to head on the road as 7-point favorites in this one. 44.5 is the total out there in the market. Noops, if I take a look at this, we know they shut Jaden Daniels down for the season. Zach Ertz moved to IR. This defense is an absolute mess. As we suspected last week, the team that cures all problems, the Raiders, comes to town, and Philadelphia looks like a real football team yet again, though I don't know how much we can pull from a win against the Raiders like that, but they're going to have to prove it yet again this week against a bad defense. A full touchdown favorites are the Eagles on the road.
Yeah, I went back and watched that Raiders game and went back even the week before to watch the Chargers game because I noticed a couple changes with the Eagles offense. A little more pass protection for Jalen Hurts, allowing him to get some more time to get this ball down the field. Now against the Chargers, Hurts turned the ball over, I think it was 4 times in that game. But outside of that, I've actually been encouraged by the Eagles offense the last couple weeks. Now again, Raiders last week, the Chargers defense solid, maybe not fantastic, but I see a lot of reasons to expect the Eagles to score points here. I think laying the 7 points makes a lot of sense, but the better angle for me is an Eagles team total over 26.5. If they don't score 27, 28 points, they're not going to cover this 7. We've seen Mariota. He's decent. I mean, they've got Terry McLaurin back. There's enough on this Commanders offense for them to get 14, 17 points here. So again, if you're trusting the Eagles, I don't mind laying the 7. I think they're probably a good pick if you're still left in Survivor, things like that. But the best angle for me, give me an Eagles team total over 26.5.
Yeah, I like what you're going with there because people were asking me earlier this week, what about this? It's kind of like a non-traditional teaser leg. Of course, it's not on the other side of 7, but you could get it off of 7 through the 6 through the 3. And I'm like, honestly, if Philadelphia plays even up to 85% of their capacity, they're going to cover anyway. So I don't know if you necessarily need to tease this thing. It's almost like you're either on the Commander side because the Eagles don't show up again, for several different times this season we've seen, or you know what, hell, it's just, you just lay it and you kind of move on. So I'm actually not really here with a teaser leg. I think you either think, okay, you believe in the Eagles, they're going to go out and punish a bad defense just like they did last week, or you don't believe in the Eagles, and then you should just take the 7 with Washington.
Makes a ton of sense to me. And again, I'm not going to make the case for Washington, but I could sort of see it. Mariota hasn't been bad. The skill position players are starting to get healthy. And if the Eagles offense turns back into a pumpkin, this could be a really, really ugly game. And you're going to feel smart with Washington plus 7 in your pocket.
Second game on Saturday, the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears. This is a 1.5 to 2, actually, if you're in a circa market, in favor of the Bears at home over Green Bay. 46.5 is our total. Of course, the unfortunate news of Micah Parsons with the season-ending injury. You do have questionable tags on several different players over on the Green Bay side, including Christian Watson, who had kind of was the de facto one there. I know there wasn't a real true wide receiver one, but kind of had assumed that de facto wide receiver one role for them. On the Chicago side of things, Noops, I mean, listen, we've said it all year long. I mean, they can run the ball, and they've run the ball fairly well in most games. That offensive line has been able to get it done against a lot of different defensive lines out there. And, I think without Micah Parsons, who does generate so much havoc and create so much attention from the offensive line. I mean, 12 and a half sacks, leading the league in pressure rate, all of that type of stuff. I know it's just one person on a defense. And I know there's some people out there who go, yeah, I mean, it sucks that he's not out there, but he's just one dude. But the one dude makes it easier for everybody else out on the field. It is such an incredibly massive injury when it comes to this Green Bay defense, and that's why we see the Bears favored here in this game instead of slight dogs.
Yeah, what I would say to people that describe Micah Parsons as one person, of course, he's only one human being, but the amount of work he does is 1.5, maybe 2 players worth of work that he generates. I mean, they don't have to send 2 rushers on his side of the field. He is picking up 2 blockers basically on every play. So it's a situation where you look at this Packers team, second consecutive road game, a lot of questionable players on both sides of the ball. I still don't think the Bears are good, but I don't know if they have to be good to win this game. So the line makes sense to me. If you're Green Bay, I wonder if this game doesn't start the way you want to. Do you sort of pass them a little bit? Because they've got the tiebreaker over Detroit. They beat the Lions twice. That really puts them in a position where they can feel comfortable about making that wild card, even if they don't win this game. Was looking at the over, again, with all the injuries, I don't think the Packers defense is going to be really great. The Bears defense has been nothing special, but just worried about that Packers offense maybe being able to put up enough points. So was close to betting the over here at 46.5, but just can't quite get myself there. Maybe a Bears team total, something like that. But it's just a really tough game to figure out not only who's going to play, but what the level of motivation is going to be.
So I will go, and I'll reference this several times throughout the course of the podcast. I'll talk about starting week 10, XXX stats, because so for me, we've gotten to the point now where I kind of don't care what you looked like in week 4 and 5 and 6 or whatever. So I've gone to an arbitrary starting point, but there's a method to my madness here, which is I'm going past the midway point of the season and kind of like, okay, so what have you done for me since the midway point of the season? What is your team identity once you figured out kind of, okay, who's injured, who's not injured? What is our real defensive scheme or offensive scheme or whatever, et cetera, stuff like that. So just to give you a reason as to why I will go going back to since week 10. But since week 10, quietly, I think under the radar, this Bears defense is a top 10 defense, EPA in the NFL, which I think is kind of shocking and certainly something I was not expecting to see. And even with Micah Parsons out there, this Green Bay defense was just kind of middle of the road. We're talking like 16th, 17th out there in, a bunch of the different categories. And so now Parsons gone, I do think it's a pretty huge deal. I kind of lean Bears here. I think that they probably just run the ball a million times, and the Packers don't have much of a choice here. Maybe it's a contest play for me as opposed to getting in the actual account, but I do actually have a lean towards the Bears, which I can't believe I'm saying that, this deep into the season.
It makes a ton of sense to me, and I like what you're talking about. We mention all the time, the NFL changes almost completely every 4 to 5 weeks. So to your point, who cares what you did in week 1, week 4, even week 8? I mean, we're so far removed from a lot of those games. So I like the way that you're looking at that. And I agree. It's almost certainly Bears or pass. And like you said, maybe it's a better contest play than an actual bet, but there's definitely a chance where the Bears come out, score 2 touchdowns pretty quickly. Jordan Love has no one to throw the ball to, and, you've got 1.5 in your pocket. You feel like a genius.
The Buffalo Bills are on the road at the Cleveland Browns. Now, I don't think we're going to argue about how this game is going to turn out from a win-loss standpoint, but can they cover the 10.5 on the road, which is where we sit right now as they head into Cleveland? 41.5 is our total here in this one. Of course, Josh Allen does his thing again last week, puts on the cape, wills the team to a win, comes back from 21 points down on the Patriots, and, solidifies that this Buffalo team, as long as he's playing quarterback, is always going to at least be something to be reckoned with. Cleveland, after a couple of decent little performances from Shedeur Sanders, kind of comes back down to earth last week on all of this. Like I said, Noops, I don't think you're going to make the case for Cleveland to win this game by any stretch, but can they keep it within 11 points?
It's an interesting matchup where you've got strength versus strength and weakness versus weakness. The Bills offense against that Browns defense, especially in Cleveland. You're looking at two of the better units basically this season. Josh Allen's just absolutely incredible, and it's amazing to see what he can do. On the other side of the ball, the Bills defense getting a little better, but still not great by any measure. And the Browns offense, I think, again, possible win game here. Wait and see what happens. The weather in Cleveland can change on a dime, but looks like we might see 15, maybe 20-mile-an-hour winds is when you start to get to the point where it could impact the game. I just really worry here that, if you want to back the Bills, again, could be a really ugly game. Just a lot of running the ball, not enough possessions and opportunity for them to cover this 10.5. And there's no reason for them to bring out their best stuff, right? If you're the Bills, you can kind of go vanilla here, just run with Cook a lot. Maybe we see some Ray Davis, and maybe that's the angle, Matt. We look at some backup running backs for this Bills team and try to bet them maybe to score touchdowns, their rushing yards prop over, because if the weather ends up being kind of the way it looks, maybe the Bills just run the ball with everybody the whole game, happy to go home with, a 21-17, 21-14 kind of win. They'll be in control of the game the whole time, but the spread will never really be in doubt from a Cleveland perspective. So I think that's maybe the angle I'm looking at.
Yeah, I do like any and all rushing angles for Buffalo in this one. Again, since week 10, and it's look, they fought valiantly, don't get me wrong, but I mean, when you're just kind of dead team walking, maybe the first thing to go would be your run defense. And the Browns 18th in the NFL in rush defense since week 10. So again, not bad. I mean, it's about middle of the pack, but I think we're looking at this Browns defense thinking, oh, it's just this super elite unit, which yes, they're very good and have been good for a decent amount of the season, but the run defense has actually fallen off quite a bit here over the last 6 weeks of the season. And so, and rightfully so, right? I mean, you're just grinding and whatever, and you're losing all these games over and over again. It's a tough deal to down in, down out, defend the run. So again, I think the Bills being smart enough, like you said, you got a couple of different backs, you got Josh Allen, you got whatever. I expect a pretty heavy run volume here, and just exploit, if there is a weakness on this Browns team, would be up front here, up the middle with that defensive line.
Yeah, the more you keep talking about this, and I'm looking through to see if there's numbers up for these guys yet, but again, Ray Davis rushing props, Ty Johnson rushing and receiving props, stuff like that. It's still pretty early here. I don't see the numbers up there for books for those guys, but I'll almost certainly be playing Ray Davis overs, Ray Davis to score, Ty Johnson overs, Ty Johnson to score.
New York Football Jets are on the road at the New Orleans Saints, and we are in week 16 of the NFL, and the New Orleans Saints are 6.5-point favorites at some books out there. I mean, you can find a flat 6. You can actually even find a couple of little rogue 5.5s, but it is a prevailing 6.5 out there in the market. 40.5 is our total here in this one. Now, Noops, I don't think that we would argue at this juncture that the Saints are better than the Jets, but are they a friggin' touchdown better? Because they got to win by a touchdown in order to cover this thing.
This is one of the strangest things that I've had to think about all week, because I've already bet the Saints. Again, nobody cares the number I got. Yeah. I was able to grab at 4.5. If there's still a 5.5 in front of you, take it. Now, by the time you listen to this, there'll probably be some 6s. If you have a cheap 6, I like this. I think it's just as simple as Tyler Shuck might be good. I don't know if he's great, but he might be good, and he's definitely way better than Brady Cook. And this New Orleans team, for some reason, it seems to want to win football games instead of trying to improve their draft picks so they can build for next year. They're trying to win games.
Sitting down in Louisiana right now are none too pleased about. They're like, "What are we doing here? Like, this makes no sense." But yes, they're feisty, right?
They really are. They play hard every week, and this Jets team just seems to quit more and more. Just fired their defensive coordinator. Obviously, that can't be good. So I can't believe I'm going to say this on a recorded show that will last forever. I am happy to lay 5.5 or a cheap 6 with the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, I mean, very rarely this season could you clearly say that they have the quarterback advantage, but I think at this juncture, we could probably clearly say they have the quarterback advantage in this, which again, seems a little crazy. I'm trying to figure out, and maybe it's an in-game prop thing, but maybe by then the number's going to be too gone, and maybe you just want to roll the dice out there. So no Kamara, and then now no Neal for the Saints. And so Audric Estime or Hull is going to get the work for them. Estime's rushing number's only 30.5. If you think that it's him, that number's very low against this Jets team. I might roll the dice and just assume it's Estime in this. He did get the run once Neal got hurt last week and all that. I mean, of course, things can change over the course whenever you have a whole week to prepare. Maybe they want Hull to be the early down guy. I don't know, but I might just roll the dice on Estime. It's not a bet for everybody, obviously, but I like to try to get out ahead of these things a little bit. And so if he is the dude against the Jets, then 30.5 rushing yards is just far too low.
Yeah, and again, just to be clear to everybody, I'm not sure who Evan Hall is. Apparently, I just looked it up. He was a fifth-round pick out of Northwestern in 2023. Again, not a running back factory by any stretch of the imagination. But I'll just add on that Estime, a little bit more of a receiving back. So maybe look at rushing plus receiving yards or just his receiving yards. I like the way you're looking at it, though. And again, maybe it's something like where last week we said, just watch the first drive of the game, see kind of what happens, and then jump in live. But I like the angle.
Minnesota Vikings are on the road at the New York Football Giants. This is 2.5. There is still a 3 at Circa and the score in favor of the Vikings. So this had gotten a 3 at a bunch of different books. Seems like there's going to be some fighting on this one as to whether to back the Giants or to back the Vikings on the road. 43.5 is our total. I pride myself on how much research I do in the NFL, and I go back and every single week watch the all 22 on every single game. I really make this a thing of mine. But let me tell you, Noops, if somebody said, tell me what the Minnesota Vikings are, even though we're here in week 16, I would be like, I don't have a freaking clue. Like I don't have any idea who this team is, what they are, what they're good at, what they're not good at, whatever. I know they're going to blitz the hell out of you on defense. I can tell you that. That's all I can tell you is like over 50% of the time they're going to blitz you on the defensive side of the ball. I said there's several games this week that I want to put on a rocket and fire into the sun. This is clearly one to me. I can't get on the right side of the Vikings. It's like when I think they're good, they're terrible. When I think they're terrible, they're good. The Giants, who the hell knows after what we saw last week. So maybe you can give me some insight here as to what to do.
Unfortunately, I don't have any real smart insight because, like you said, I mean, what is this Vikings team? Some games the defense looks good. Other games it looks bad. I mean, they're really missing Jonathan Grenard, and I think they will in a big way this game going up against Jackson Dart, who, no matter what everybody tells him or how many times he has to go into that blue tent, is going to put his head down and run hard. So I just think this is a spot where kind of just lean towards the Giants. I think the game means a little bit more to them. Again, with Dart trying to push for offensive rookie of the year, they don't necessarily really need to lose any more games to keep their draft pick position where it is, but maybe J.J. McCarthy is better all of a sudden. Maybe these couple weeks that he's had have helped him because he does look better. He looks calmer the way he moved. He made some fantastic throws on the run last week, and Justin Jefferson is saying nice things about him finally. So maybe the Vikings are good. Maybe they're not. Maybe we should just play the over here. That's kind of what I keep coming back to. Neither defense is really spectacular. The total is 43.5. I don't think there's any reason to expect the weather to be bad in the Meadowlands this weekend. So maybe it's over, but I agree. I think this is hands down one of the hardest games to handicap of all season, let alone this week.
It's like if I believed in J.J. McCarthy at all, he's getting the Giants defense, which is terrible. And Justin Jefferson's receiving prop is 54.5 yards. Like, it's like they're begging me to bet this, right? Like they're begging me to bet Justin Jefferson over on his receiving prop because, again, if J.J. McCarthy has a pulse, then Jefferson should clear this. Jefferson could maybe come close to doubling this in this game. But bad J.J. just is in the back of my head. It might be a principal bet here, which is just, hey, look, even if he's not that great, it's still the Giants defense. And like maybe on volume alone, Jefferson can get there. But I at least wanted to point that out to the viewers and listeners out there that like we're talking about an elite receiver, like a top 5 receiver in the game whose receiving prop is 54.5 yards.
It's preposterous, and I like it. I think, again, maybe you could find a 60 plus with plus money, something like that. Yeah. I just double-checked. It doesn't look like there's going to be much wind, small chance of snow, but the temperature is going to be 39, so it's most likely rain, which actually generally is better for wide receivers because they can plant knowing where they're going while defenses have to react. I think you're right. We probably have to look at some Justin Jefferson overs at these numbers.
It's just crazy that we're Crazy I'm saying that because I thought I thought JJ McCarthy was going to be a complete bust, but I said he's at least the last couple of weeks he has fooled me. So we'll see if he can keep it up. Tampa Bay Bucks are on the road at the Carolina Panthers. This is a field goal in favor of the Bucks on the road. It is 45.5 to 46 out there from a total perspective. Of course, this game means everything. These two teams battling it out for the NFC South and a playoff berth to get waxed by whoever they play in the first round. So that's kind of where here your prize is to go lose in the first round. Good for you. At home in front of your fans, you get to get killed. So boy, this is super, super tempting to me again to take a field goal here with Carolina just because of the uneven play that we've seen from the Bucks. But I just wonder, Noops, is Baker hurt or is he injured? Because if he's hurt, then he should slowly be getting better each week, even though there's all these nagging pains and all of that. But if he's injured, then he's just going to be playing at the level that he's been playing on until he can actually get some real rest and get the issue kind of taken care of. Because I think we've seen enough of Baker over the last few years to understand that this probably isn't who he is. I think he's playing through something or multiple things, and it's definitely affected his play, along with, just the fact that they've been so injured over there. So it's a tough handicap again for me, because I'm like, well, is Baker going to be 10% better this week because he's had just another week for something to kind of like get, feeling a little bit better on him? Or is it like it's not going to matter how much time it is because this dude's playing through a torn X or a completely strained X or whatever, it is or something. So I don't know. What say you?
Yeah, I think once the season is over here for Tampa Bay, we're going to get like a Friday morning news drop. Baker Mayfield had surgery on XYZ, and we'll be back in time for training camp, because he does just look like a shell of himself, and he's not running the same way he does. He really has not thrown the ball down the field. I mean, one of the easiest prop bets you could make, and you should probably make it again this week, is Baker Mayfield longest completion under. He is not pushing the ball down the field in any way. I mean, not even trying to throw it, let alone actually doing it. So it's a position where the offense is finally healthy. They've got their three running backs. The receivers are starting to be healthy. But as you mentioned, if Baker isn't 100%, which seems to me he pretty clearly is not, this is a spot for the Panthers, who honestly need this game a lot more than Tampa Bay does, because they play again final week of the season. That's in Tampa Bay. And in between those games, Carolina's got to play Seattle. So the Panthers need to win both of these games, basically, against Tampa Bay if they're going to win this division and have a chance to get smoked by some NFC West team in the first round. Maybe it should be a Panthers team total over. The Bucs defense has been pitiful these last few weeks, especially against the pass. With Ted McMillan, looks like he's confirmed to be playing here. I think Carolina can score 24, maybe even 28 points. Their team total's 21.5. I think the over there is a perfectly good bet, but give me the 3 points. I like the Panthers here. I think they're very live to win this game and can certainly put up enough points. I'm just not sure Tampa Bay can put up enough to stay with them.
Yeah, I mean, it's from an offensive perspective, these two teams heading in the complete opposite direction, which is crazy to think. I mean, we're talking on the season, like EPA on the Panthers are like 23rd, but the last 4 weeks they're 8th. Like, you go in, they're passing EPA on the season, they're 24th. Over the last 4 weeks, they're 6th. It's kind of like you get all that, and then you go on the flip side where over the last 4 weeks for the Bucs offense, 24th EPA per play, 32nd. That's dead last, by the way. Worse than the Jets, worse than everyone in success rate. They are the dead last team in success rate. So, again, they're just stuff like that I think that maybe we can take advantage of here. And the Panthers are at home. Young's played better at home, like I said. I think this is going to be a bet for me on the Panthers at the full field goal. I can't even, again, weird week here, but we're going to keep rolling on with it here. The Kansas City Chiefs, talking about a weird week. The Kansas City Chiefs, who on the look ahead were like 10.5 point, 11 point favorites over the Tennessee Titans, now without Patrick Mahomes, are 3 point favorites on the road over Tennessee. A preseason-esque 37.5 total here. It is the Gardner Minshew show for the Chiefs in this thing. And Noop's kind of a question we've asked a couple of different times heading into some of these games, but I think it really, really rings true here in this one. Is what mental state is this team in? What motivation factor does this team have? They're not playing in the playoffs for the first time in nearly a decade. You lose your star quarterback. You're praying he might be back just to get in by week 1 of next season. Kelsey, obviously this is his last season, the way he's playing, the way his effort and all this. Like, I really do think that there is a handicap that we can't quantify in this game as to what the Chiefs are going to take on that plane with them to Tennessee.
Yeah, this is such a difficult game because, like you said, this defense has nothing to play for. And I think being on the road makes a huge difference here. If this game was in Kansas City, I could see them, all right, one more time for the fans. Let's get out there. Let's try to do something. Let's remind them what Kansas City Chiefs defense is all about. Let's try to help Gardner Minshew here because, again, he still has to stand behind that same offensive line that is just a mess, is missing pieces all over the place. Minshew is going to be running for his stinking life. I think the easiest bet here is Travis Kelce unders. I think we're done. I think that he very much is at the end of his career. I would not be surprised if we hear him retire after the game on Christmas, and that's it. I mean, if you're Travis Kelce, what are you putting your body on the line for at this point? I think we're going to see a lot of alligator arms, a lot of slowing down as he runs over the middle of the field. So I'm just going to be playing a lot of Travis Kelce unders, and this will be a game where, again, I'm going to try to pay close attention to the first couple drives, and if that Chiefs defense just doesn't have any sort of pep, I will probably be playing a Titans money line live. It's just, I think it's tight. It has to be Titans or pass, given just the devastating situation for this Chiefs team. What reason do they have to be motivated to bring any sort of energy again on the road here? But as far as pregame goes, Travis Kelce under everything.
Yeah, same deal with me is if that defense looks like they're just kind of standing out there, I mean, at that point, then even with Tennessee being as bad as they are, then 37.5 is just too low. Yeah. Gardner Minshew is at least capable. So they're going to score on this Tennessee defense. Like, there will be some points put up by the Chiefs, but if the defense from the Chiefs side of things just looks like they're going through the motions, to be fair, Tennessee just doesn't have any talent, but like, they let Ward sling it until the buzzer. I mean, they just they let him just go out there and huck it around and all of that. And I think they can probably put enough points on the board to get us to 38 points in this game. And so kind of one of the deals I'm going to be looking at too is if there's no fire, if there's no spark, if there's no spunk, then I think we could easily see Kansas City, against the worst, even if it is Gardner Minshew, play into the low 20s, and then Tennessee can do their part, I think, in this as well, and maybe even win the game outright. So I kind of like an over, but I need to see it. I'm with you. I don't think on the road is where you kind of see the last hurrah. I think it's back in the stadium, in front of the fans who showed up and didn't give up on the season, and maybe then they really give it to them. But I don't know if you do it on the road. Also, how do you get up after what happened last week against the worst team in the NFL? It's like triple whammy situation here for this team. It's like if you're like, you can't even get pumped up. At least if you were going to a rival or going to a good team or something, be like, let's go mess their season up, or let's go whatever. It's like you're going to Tennessee.
Yeah, let's go show these Titan fans what we're made of.
Yeah, it's like cool, So I don't know, man. I need the report. If you live in Nashville, I need the report on how many Chiefs you see out at the bars, on Saturday night. Like any tweet at
Chris
Matt
Jones
Brown
hammering barbecue somewhere. We need to know.
Yeah, if you see them out, taking in the nighttime festivities, let us know, because it wouldn't surprise me. I'll put it that way, in the least bit. The Chargers are on the road at the Cowboys. They will enter Dallas as 2.5 point dogs to the Cowboys. 49.5 is our total here in this one. Of course, Dallas kind of blew an opportunity as well. They were not mathematically eliminated, but all but going to need to win out with help. And the Chargers continue to win despite having the worst offensive line, not one of the worst offensive line in the NFL, and by a wide margin. So there are smarter people than me out there on the internet. And if you don't follow these people, you got to. I have a highly curated NFL Twitter list that you can go in and you can subscribe to. So just go in, find my Twitter account, and there's an NFL list that I have curated over the last 5 years. Go in, trust me, it's worth it. So one of the guys goes in, makes a chart every single week, and he basically will take Pro Football Focus, Sports Info Solutions, and ESPN's offensive line scores, and they all have different ways of doing it. Of course, PFF is kind of a subjective, watching play after play after play. ESPN does a whole pass block win rate type of things. Sports Info Solutions has their own grading system, but he makes a composite out of all of that. And I'll put it this way. So the composite score for the Broncos, who are your number one team from a pass blocking standpoint in the NFL, is 94. It's a pretty decent little drop off to the Bills, who are actually 2 at 87, and you just keep going down from there. The composite score for the Chargers is 10. 10 to let you know how bad this team is. It's 10. The Bengals, who we all think, all you can picture is Joe Burrow running for his life, is 26 is their composite score, if that tells you anything in all of this. So that is how bad this Chargers offensive line is, yet they figure out how to win games because the defense is playing out of its mind. And, of course, you still have Justin Herbert, who's taking those snaps.
That's amazing. If you had told me the Bengals were 26, I would have guessed the Chargers were 20. They're more than twice as bad. That's just unbelievable. In this game, I think a lot of this actually hinges on what the Eagles do on Saturday. If the Eagles win on Saturday, the Cowboys are pretty much done. Yeah. I don't know if they're officially done, but I think they kind of are. And you've also got a Cowboys team that has a lot of injuries on both sides of the ball. CeeDee Lamb, Javonte Williams, Tyler Guyton, all questionable, huge pieces. On the other side of the ball, Quinnen Williams, Deron Bland, and 2 other defensive backs are questionable here. And I don't understand why this total is so high. I'm looking at a total of 49.5 for this game. And the only way I can wrap my head around this is if they think both offenses are healthy. I mean, that's how I get to this number. As I started to tweak some things in my own numbers, the only way I could get to this was assuming Lamb plays and is healthy, Guyton plays and is healthy, Williams plays and is healthy. The Chargers offensive line has a decent week. Maybe they get up to 15 instead of 10. It's just absolutely nuts to me that this total is so high. And I get it. You don't want to play under in a Cowboys game, given how bad they've been all season, but I can't get this to 50, which is what we need to get over this number. Give me under 49.5. And again, we get some key numbers, 47, 48, all those good stuff there. Give me the under. I just don't see how we're getting 50 points in this mess of a football game.
Like I said, the Chargers are winning right now mainly because, you have Justin Herbert at quarterback, and then you also have a defense. Again, we're going back to that number of week 10. You have defenses that have been playing well, Seahawks, Jags, Eagles. The 4th defense in the NFL, EPA, according to our friends that are much smarter than us that do all this stuff, is the Chargers. I mean, the Chargers are your 4th best defense in the NFL since week number 10. So the last 6 weeks of the season, this is a top 5 defense. And so I'm with you, man. It just seems too high. I think we still romanticize what Dallas is. And don't get me wrong. I mean, yes, you've got these great players and all of this, but this offense doesn't show up just humming every single week. That's just not how it is. And so, yeah, man, you go up against the defense, got a little bit of a pulse. You think with how bad that offensive line is, the Chargers are at least going to try to run the ball. They're at least going to try to see if they can get anything going on the ground. So I think there's a lot playing into an under, much more playing into an under than there is on an over, because also both these quarterbacks take care of the ball too. And so it's not like this is going to be a turnover fest.
Yeah, you make some great points. Less turnovers is more better for unders. And if Quinnen Williams doesn't play, there's no reason for the Chargers to throw this ball in the game. Just keep handing it to Omaro Hampton, keep handing it to Kamani Vidal, just keep Justin Herbert upright and run.
Cincinnati Bengals are on the road at the Miami Dolphins. This is 4.5 in favor of the Bengals on the road at the Dolphins. 47.5 is the prevailing total out there in this one. We know how this is all gone unless you've been living under a rock. It is Tua on the bench, not only on the bench, but 3rd string. And it is not Zach Wilson. They're going to go ahead and go with Quinn Ewers. And I will say this, Noops, and I know you pay attention to it as well. I'm a huge NFL draft bettor, so I kind of pay attention to everything throughout the course of the year. There was a time in the DraftNik community where Quinn Ewers' name was at least being mentioned as a potential number 1 overall pick in the draft. Now, it didn't pan out at Texas the way that he would have wanted and all of that, but there was at least enough talent on film for people to think that he could have played his way into the top of the NFL draft. He ends up going in the 7th round, actually had like a 3rd or 4th round grade from a lot of different scouts out there. So again, just kind of keep all that in mind with how bad Tua had been playing as well. I don't know for certain that this is a massive drop off. Like, I mean, it's a drop off. It's still a guy making his first start in the NFL, but like, I don't know if it's as massive of a drop off as maybe it seems at first glance.
Yeah, and it's a lot, we just talked about turnovers and how important that is. Sure, you're not going to get somebody who can throw the ball as well as Tua, who from time to time has made some good throws, but sometimes he just throws it to the other team. And I think Ewers is going to be smart enough, and I think the game plan is going to be simple enough here where, we see him limit the turnovers. For me, this game is all about Joe Burrow because, man, he just seems lost. He seems he said something last week like, no NFL team would have won this week with me at quarterback. He's talking the week before about whether or not he has fun. I mean, I'm just terrified if I'm the Bengals that we're looking at maybe an Andrew Luck situation here where just Burrow, that's it. At the end of the season, I'm done getting wailed on every single week with this team that just puts no value on the offensive line whatsoever. This game is easily the hardest game to handicap this week. If I had any faith in Joe Burrow playing well or even just smiling a few times during this game, I'd play a Bengals team total over, but something is very wrong in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I have a pretty strong lean to Miami, and I think I might play Miami. Again, it's like there's a world where Achane just kind of does what he was doing during that little 4-game win streak for Miami, which Tua wasn't doing anything anyway. Like the defense was actually playing well enough and Achane was running well enough that Tua didn't have to do anything. If you look at that 4-game win streak, he didn't throw for over 171 yards in any of those games, right? And so can they keep stuff kind of close to the line of scrimmage, not really make him do crazy stuff and whatever. By the way, Cincinnati, despite the fact not having a ton of talent, plays man defense at one of the highest rates in the league. Like, could Jalen Waddle get loose against bad coverage once or twice and Quinn Ewers hit him down the field because he's wide open? Like, I think these are all in play. So I don't know. I have a pretty decent lean towards taking the points with Miami, but haven't quite pulled the trigger yet, but probably will to some capacity. I don't know if it'll be like a go in full unit type situation, but it's maybe more of one of those kind of like trust your gut type bets so you don't feel stupid when your handicap plays out.
Yeah, maybe the easy answer is just play Achane overs. If you're Miami, you should build the whole offense around him. Let Ewers throw him the ball in short situations. Just let him hand the ball over and over again. The backup running backs, Jalen Wright and Ollie Gordon, kind of get work from here or there. But Achane is truly the bell cow there. So maybe that's the best answer. Just play a bunch of Achane overs, especially receiving, because it should be Ewers throwing to him short, throwing in screens and things like that.
Over to the afternoon slate, Atlanta and Arizona. This is 2.5-3 in favor of the Falcons on the road at the Cardinals. Cardinals put another person on. Bam Knight goes to IR. It's just a walking wounded there in Phoenix. 48 is the total here in this one. I have no idea how this is going to play. I guess Marvin Harrison's going to play. It seems Drake London might be back for Atlanta. Maybe not. I don't know how this is going to play. Only thing I know is they're going to let Jacoby Brissett just drop back and throw it 50 times if they have to or whatever. So Brissett props at least are very tempting and interesting to me, whether that's attempts, whether that's yardage, whether that's both, whatever it might be. But this is another one of those games, just two teams, nothing to play for, backup quarterbacks, injured star receivers. I don't know. Noops, enlighten the people here on this one.
In a week of games that are total bummers, this one takes the shit sandwich. Yeah. This game stinks. Again, if Drake London doesn't play, it's just going to be Bijan Robinson running into stacked boxes. And then the other side of the field, Jacoby Brissett throwing the ball 50, 55 times to Michael Wilson and some other guys. This Atlanta defense has obviously been much worse, but the pass defense is still okay. There is just, again, if you happen to live in the Arizona market or an Atlanta market where that's the game you have to watch, tell your wife, your significant other, your family, you know what, I'm going to give up football this week because you guys are more important, and go out and do something and enjoy all the credit for that, because there is no reason to even watch or really even think about this football game.
Yeah, it's brutal. Like I said, I mean, I think Brissett props are at least in the realm of possibility here because, like, they're not going to be able to run the ball. And
completion's over.
and they're just gonna throw it a million times, and so there's that. We at least know that they are a-okay dropping him back 45 times a game. Like, they're fine. They're like, get him beat up. Who cares? He's not going to be the quarterback next year. Neither is Kyler. We'll figure it out somewhere along the way. Now, a very, very interesting game. Jacksonville Jaguars on the road at the Denver Broncos. This is 3.5 in favor of Denver at home. 47 is our prevailing total. Though you can find actually 46 and a half, same 47s out there in this one. I mean, maybe no two teams that have proven all the haters wrong out there, Noops, than these two teams. I mean, all season long, everybody just wants to talk about why Denver isn't as good as we actually think they are. All season long, nobody wants to give Jacksonville any credit and all of that. And, like, maybe we were just wrong. I mean, it is Bo Nix maybe played his best game of his career last week. Trevor Lawrence over the last 3 weeks, and you can only play the teams in front of you before you start screaming, look at the opponents, look at the opponents. You can only play the teams in front of you, all right? So he can't choose who he is playing against. Over the last 3 weeks, he's first in Pro Football Focus's grade over the last 3 weeks. He's first in EPA over the last 3 weeks. 9 big-time throws, 0 turnover-worthy plays. I mean, like, he's playing at a pretty good level with a defense, when I mentioned since week 10, the Seattle Seahawks, which this is going to change after what happened Thursday night.
Yeah.
Seattle Seahawks was your number 1 defense since week 10. Your number 2 defense in the NFL since week 10 has been the Jacksonville Jaguars. So just a banger of a game here. According to my power ratings, I should be taking the 3.5 with the Jags. I don't have that much separation between them, especially if there's home field advantage built into this, and it's way too much for according to my power ratings. So I think on a what I have on paper type situation, I have to make kind of the principled 3.5 is too much type bet here on this thing.
I agree. I was sort of leaning towards the Broncos when it was 2.5. There was some cheap threes out there, but now that we're at 3.5, I think you're right. It is Jags and pass. And maybe really what that tells us, Matt, is let's just bet the under. If this 3.5 is really going to come into play, it's going to be an ugly, ugly, slow football game. And we saw Bo Nix play probably the best game of his career, like you said last week, but going up against a quietly, as you mentioned, really good defense with Jacksonville. And the Jaguars, this is the best defense they've played all year by a large, large margin. So the more and more I look at this, I keep staring at the total. It's 46.5. But my only concern, again, is these are teams that do from time to time turn the ball over. So maybe you get some short field, stuff like that. But I think I have to take the under in what should be a fantastic sort of knockdown, drag-out football game.
Yeah, I actually think that's a good look as well. I think there's a little bit of correlation too. If you like the Jags, you probably got to like the under as well. The over probably means Trevor's thrown it to the other team a couple times or two or something like that. So something to keep in mind. Pittsburgh Steelers are on the road at the Detroit Lions in the afternoon window. This is one expensive 6.5 at FanDuel. Everywhere else is at 7. 51.5 to 52 is our total here in this one. Steelers proved me wrong last week. I'll admit it. Here's the hand raise. Sorry. Completely whiffed on that one. Detroit obviously still clinging here to life and certainly need this win. And I feel pretty confident they get it, but Noops, they got to win by more than a touchdown.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where I think Detroit is clearly the better team in this game, but the inconsistency is so hard to wrap your head around. And honestly, on both sides of the ball, you've got a Detroit team where some weeks the defense looks really good and other weeks it looks terrible. Some weeks the offense is coming out, they're scoring points in bunches. You're watching Jahmyr Gibbs just run away from people and Jamison Williams and all those guys. But can the Steelers find a way to ugly this game up and just turn it into kind of a mess? I tend to think not. I think this is the week maybe we finally, really start to see the fork in the Steelers' back, if you will, but they're still fighting for everything. They lead their division. They've got a chance to make the playoffs, and the Lions are on the outside looking in. They absolutely have to win this game, and it's just so tough to lay a touchdown, lay expensive 6.5 in a game where both teams are going to be just pulling out everything they've got. It should be a really, really fun football game. I still lean towards the Lions, though. I think they're the much better team. I think the Steelers' defense is not nearly as good as everyone thinks it is, and I feel more confident about the Lions scoring 30 points than I do about the Steelers scoring in the mid to high 20s and keeping the Lions under 30.
So I did play one prop in this one. I played Kenneth Gainwell over 62.5 rushing and receiving yards.
Ooh.
Because I think this is a two-way winner here, which is if we've seen when the Steelers offense is working properly, he's a big part of it. He's basically operating as the wide receiver 2 in this offense behind DK Metcalf. So when this offense is working good, he's catching a bunch of balls out of the backfield. You can go in and look. I mean, the guy's like catching 5, 6, 7 balls, in a game. And that means the offense is doing good. Also, if they get behind this game, which you and I think they could, then Jaylen Warren just goes off the field. And Gainwell's just the only person on the field every time because he's the pass catching back as it is anyway. So I think that there's two different game states in which this could get home, which is why I kind of like this. And he gets a handful of carries every game as it is anyway to kind of spell Warren. He's been getting that 6, 7, 8 carries as it is. And so you get that angle out of it. And then again, if the offense is working, Gainwell's probably a part of the reason why it's working. And then if they are losing in this game, then he's the guy that's just out on the field the whole time because he's a pass catching back.
I love that. I think it's a great angle. Kenneth Gainwell receiving yards over has been one of the easiest bets you've cashed the last couple of weeks. And I love what you're saying here. Tonight, or this game should be absolutely no different. That's a great look. I'm going to join you on that.
Las Vegas Raiders on the road at the Houston Texans. Go to town if y'all want to bet this one. It's at 14.5, 38. I guess they're going to trot Geno back out there because that works so well, because that experiment's been working so well. So why not trot him back out there against this Houston defense? I mean, again, good luck. It's 14.5. It's just not my style. We've talked about this multiple times on the pod. Like, I hate when my team is beating the hell out of the other team and they're up 21 points in the fourth quarter and I'm still sweating whether this thing is going to cover or not. So just again, not my style of bet, but good on you if you still have Houston left in Survivor, good on you, whatever, and all that. They're going to win by how much, I don't know. Again, it's not a game I like to bet.
If it was 13.5, I'd be laying it with the Texans. 14.5 is just a little bit of a bridge too far. I'm probably going to go in and find a way to see. I wonder if anyone will let me bet the Raiders to score 0 points. I really, honest to God, I'm going to be looking for that all morning, Sunday morning.
Shutout bet, right?
You would think so. And I'm going to try to find something like that. I love the idea of Geno Smith unders. If he somehow makes it through 4 quarters of this game, I don't think he's going to throw for 200 yards. I'm looking at his passing total right now. It's 196.5. If he even plays all 4 quarters, which I don't think is guaranteed, whether it's because he stinks or because he gets killed, Will Anderson just absolutely ends his career in this game. Find some creative ways to just bet some crazy stuff with the Raiders. Again, Geno Smith unders, the Raiders team total under 7.5, under 3.5, some goofy shit like that. That's the only way to do it.
Sunday night football, of course, brought to you by our friends over at Bet365, the New England Patriots and the Baltimore Ravens. This is currently an expensive 2.5 or a cheap 3 in favor of Baltimore at home. 48 is the prevailing total, though you can find 48.5s out there in the market as well. Again, guys, we constantly say you got to have more than one out. You need 2, 3, 4, 5 books. If you live in a market that's got all of those, you definitely should have Bet365 as part of your portfolio. It is one of the very best for not only NFL betting, and they're running specials all the time for all the different things every day of the week. But look, if you bet golf, they're the only book that offers each way betting. If you bet some of these other sports, they offer betting stuff that you can find over in Europe that you don't really get from the American books as well. Yeah. And so 365 certainly should be part of your portfolio. Now, New England did, Noops, blow that 21-point lead last week to the Bills, but if you want to play like kind of glass half full, they did get a 21-point lead on the Bills, so there is that if you kind of want to go in that direction. They do head on the road here against Baltimore, and a lot of people are wondering, myself included, how they are a full field goal dog, even though it is on the road, to Baltimore, who, while the defense has gotten healthier and played a little bit better, the offense has not.
I am blown away by the fact that the Ravens are favored in this game, and I just don't know if it's an unbelievable amount of respect for Baltimore the past few seasons. And I say this because with even admitting that Lamar's looked much better the last couple of weeks. He's starting to run. The ball's getting out of his hands, but the Patriots are the better team in this football game. And again, maybe it's Derrick Henry gets a couple touchdowns, stuff like that. But I've already bet the Patriots, and I don't even care about the points. Give me the money line. I think New England wins this game. I love them coming off a loss. Mike Vrabel knows how to defend this Ravens team as a Titans head coach for years. He did really good against this team, kind of restricting what they're doing. So I think this is going to be a solid game. Again, devil's advocate kind of stuff. New England struggled against tight ends. The Ravens love throwing to Mark Andrews. They love throwing to Isaiah Likely, even Charlie Kolar. Again, Derrick Henry starting to look a little bit better here. Maybe he runs the ball a little bit against the Patriots run defense. It's been a little bit overrated, but I'm really stretching here. I like the Patriots. I have them favored, so give me the Patriots on the money line.
I mean, same. I just couldn't get there. I mean, I took the 3 and I did the sprinkle. I did the money line sprinkle as well. It just, from an offensive perspective, there's just a big mismatch in this thing. I mean, like the Patriots offense has been a much better offense than the Ravens offense has been. And if you want to say, okay, well, the Ravens defense has been a little bit better than the Patriots, I'll at least listen to you there, but it's not a huge gap by any stretch of the imagination. And so I just kind of look at this where I have a team that since week 10 is second in the NFL in EPA in the Patriots, again, when against a team that is 22nd on the offensive side. Like, yeah, Lamar's played better. Don't get me wrong. And I think he's maybe getting a little bit healthier, but I just don't think the dudes are out there. I don't think he has enough weapons. I don't think there's enough guys out there to get this done. And this doesn't play into the handicap. It could only help the handicap, but like Lamar had to miss practice on Wednesday, and this time it wasn't, he was sick, illness. And then comes to find out there was like 19 players that were sent home because they were sick and all this. And like, so sure, there's a lot of time between Wednesday and when this thing kicks on Monday, but like, are you fully recovered? Did you get enough practice in? Did you, there's all kinds of little ancillary factors. Again, it's not part of the handicap. I said it can just help, right? And so there's all of that plays into it too. And so I don't know, man. I have the Patriots just as a much better team. And so if I'm catching a field goal in the game, banana in the tailpipe, I'm falling for it, but I played them. And like I said, I did the money line thing too.
And another qualitative thing to take into account, this is a must-win game for the Ravens. There's going to be a lot of nervous energy in that stadium, and the Patriots are playing with house money. And, a lot of times people are like, well, it's a must-win game. The Ravens are going to win. It doesn't always work that way. If the Patriots come out, they get 7-10 points on the board before the Ravens do. We see a couple 3-and-outs from Baltimore. That stadium is going to be eerily quiet, and things are going to get nervy fast.
Absolutely. Guys, if you have not done so already, hit that subscribe button. Everything we do, absolutely free. Let us know in the comment section how you are going to play this game. And again, a game that I think even if you were a Patriots fan, you didn't know that they'd be sitting where they're sitting right now here in week 16 of the season. Just a fantastic job done by Drake May, Mike Vrabel, everybody there in New England with all of this. So do appreciate that a ton. He is Noops. I am Matt. Good luck on all your week 16 bets.
Bet $5, get $300 in bonus bets, win or lose, with Bet365 Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, 21 plus only. T&Cs apply. In-app only.